Today we will create a transition animation for transitioning between menus in the UI in Unity. So we'll dive straight into the code. The first thing that we have to do is to create our variables. So we'll start by adding the canvas groups. So in this specific game, we actually have 3 different menus. So we have the menu where we select if we want to play single player or multiplayer, and then we have our selection menu. So we'll add these 3. And then we'll also have to create a list to actually add all of these canvas groups, which we'll need later to actually swap between the different menus. So in the start, we'll actually assign all of our menus to this list so that we can later cycle through it with a for each loop, which is a little bit more clean inside of the code itself. We'll enable all of our menus so that they're all visible. And then later we can actually transition between each of them. So the first function that we'll create is our set active menu button. So the first function that we'll create is the set active menu. So in this set active menu, we'll start by creating a for each, and we'll basically go through the menus that we have set up inside of our list. So we'll just use a variable for this. The first thing that we have to create is an isActive boolean. So we do this so that we can actually know if we have to transition into invisible or to transition into visible. So we'll just do that by checking if this specific menu has been selected. Then we'll have to add a block raycast. So this is necessary because if we don't do this, then we can't actually click on the menu itself, or the other menus that will be invisible will still be active for raycast. So we will disable it or enable it. And then of course we have to enable and disable interaction as well. Then what we're using for the animation is DOFade. So DOFade is part of the DOTween library that you can get for Unity, and based on if it's active, we'll set it to the alpha of 1, so that's for the opacity of the menu itself, and we'll transition into 0 if it's off, of course. And then for the duration, we'll just start with 0.02 seconds. That should be quite fast and give us a nice transition. So now we'll start by adding our functions. So we have the multiplayer clicked. That's when we go into the multiplayer menu, and then we'll add the other ones for the single player and the selection menu. So what we now have to do is we still have to add all of our canvas groups to the menu itself. So the canvas group allow us to actually disable and enable the raycast and set the alpha, and also set it to active. Now we have to add all of the menus that we have to our menu script itself, which in this case attached to the menu object inside of this the game. So the next thing to do is to still add all of our functions to the buttons itself. So here we have a back button, and inside of the back button we'll add the menu so that we can actually assign the correct function to execute. Okay, so let's test our game. So what you can see is that the transitions work. We can go back and forth between transitions. Okay, so what we can do now is actually add a transition. So we'll add the transition speed variable, and then we'll add this transition speed variable instead of the 0.1 transition speed. So now we can actually enable different transition speeds by just editing a number inside of our inspector. So as you can see, we've now set it to 0.5. The transitions are a lot slower. We'll now try to set the transition to 1. And as you can see, it's just a lot slower. This is not necessarily something that I want for this specific menu. And now we'll set it to 1, and with 1 we can see that the transition is quite fast. So this makes it quite flexible to test out different transition speeds and tune it to whatever menu we actually want. Thanks for watching.